America, we got to get back to doing what's expected of us as free citizens in this democracy. That means being tolerant, being respectful, staying informed, and being engaged. I'm former Congressman Joe Walsh. Follow me here and join the millions of Americans who are renewing their social contract with each other. The social contract, it's on us. Hey, Joe Walsh with you, former Congressman Joe Walsh with you this Friday. Thank you for being with me on whatever platform you're on. Hello, TikTok. I am back up on TikTok Live. I got booted a couple days ago because of my language, supposedly. So good to be back on TikTok. I will watch my language. I love radio. I love talk radio. I used to do talk radio. I used to have my own talk radio show all over the country. I had that talk radio show until I publicly came out against Donald Trump 6 years ago. And the minute I came out against Donald Trump 6 years ago, I lost that talk radio show. But that's a story for another day. I love talk radio, and I would come in to the studio every day, and my mood would dictate what I talked about, and my mood would dictate what kind of a show I would have. I was an open book, guys. I'd come into the studio in a pissed off mood. I'd come into the studio depressed, sad. I'd come into the studio ready to drink some tequila, fired up. My mood would dictate the kind of show I'd have. And I'm doing the same thing here because this is like radio. And so I come to you this Friday, both not in a really good mood at all, kind of in a bad mood. And I come to you this Friday also pretty profoundly sad about something. We'll get to the profoundly sad piece in a minute, but I'm not in a very good mood for a lot of reasons today. And I want to start with JD Vance and Tucker Carlson, and I apologize at the outset if my bad mood is going to take me over. I won't bury the lead. I'll put it out there. JD Vance must have no problem with Holocaust denialism. JD Vance must be perfectly okay with Nazi apologists. I mean, I thought about putting a question mark there. Is JD Vance a Holocaust denier? Is JD Vance a Nazi apologist? Question mark. I thought about posing it as a question, but damn it, no. I'm done with beating around the bush with this stuff. We are who we are. We are what we say. We are who we hang with. We are who we give a platform to. Let's quit beating around the bush. You know the drill. You know the story. Earlier this week, at the start of this week, Tucker Carlson gave a giant platform to a Holocaust denier, a Nazi apologist. Tucker Carlson had this historian on his show at the start of the week. This is a historian who denies the Holocaust, who says Winston Churchill was the bad guy, Adolf Hitler was the good guy. He apologizes for Nazism. Tucker Carlson had this despicable jackass on his show. Tucker Carlson gave him a giant platform. Tucker Carlson has enthusiastically praised this guy, called him his favorite historian. This guy who denies the Holocaust happened, this guy who apologizes every single day for what the Nazis did back in World War II, this guy who says Hitler was good, Churchill was bad. Tucker Carlson praises him and praised him this week and put him on his damn show. What does that have to do with JD Vance? After Here's what it has to do with JD Vance. After Tucker Carlson did all of this, and the key word there, gang, is after. After Tucker Carlson did all of this, after Tucker Carlson warmly and enthusiastically embraced this Nazi apologist, JD Vance sat down with Tucker Carlson and recorded an interview with Tucker. After Tucker Carlson had this guy on his show, JD Vance is scheduled to appear live at an event, I think in Michigan, side by side with Tucker Carlson. Again, after Tucker Carlson had a Holocaust denier on his show. Not only has JD Vance not said a damn thing, and when asked about this, the Vance campaign said something like, oh, we disapprove of cancel culture. Bullshit. If I'm JD Vance and I'm supposed to sit down with Tucker Carlson, and Tucker Carlson has a Holocaust denier, a Nazi apologist on his show, and somebody puts a camera in front of me, and I'm the VP nominee, and asks me what I think, why am I sitting down with Tucker Carlson? I would say I'm no longer sitting down with Tucker Carlson. I like a lot of what Tucker does, but that was a step too far. Holocaust denialism is evil. Nazi apologism is evil. Hitler was evil. And I'm not going to sit down with anybody that gives a platform to somebody who praises Hitler. That's what I would have said if I was JD Vance. JD Vance hasn't said any of that. JD Vance hasn't condemned Tucker Carlson at all. I'm just tired. Maybe it's Friday. I'm tired of beating around the bush. We tell people who we are. JD Vance is telling you forget about Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson has told you, man. Tucker Carlson has already told you repeatedly, over and over, who the hell he is. It's a choice. We all make choices. JD Vance is telling you who he is. Tucker Carlson, man, did it. And then JD Vance sat down and had an interview with Tucker Carlson. JD Vance is telling you who he is. JD Vance is still going to appear in a week. Side by side with Tucker Carlson, JD Vance is telling you who he is. JD Vance is certainly not telling us, he's not telling you that he disapproves of Holocaust denialism. He's not telling you that he disapproves of Nazi apologists. Look, MAGA, Trumpism, you are a whisker removed from this bullshit. You need to call out this evil. The Holocaust happened, and anybody who denies the Holocaust should be shunned. And that shouldn't be hard to say. The Nazis and Hitler were evil. Nazism was evil, and anyone who praises or apologizes for Hitler or Nazism should be shunned. And that shouldn't be hard to say. The Republican nominee for vice president can't and won't say that. And the Republican nominee for vice president is going to embrace someone, Tucker Carlson, who embraces Holocaust denialism. And I'm done playing games with Tucker Carlson, man. The headline isn't Tucker Carlson had a Nazi apologist on his show. Oh, Nazi apologist bad. No, Tucker Carlson bad. Tucker Carlson had him on his show. That means Tucker Carlson is a Nazi apologist. You give someone like that a platform, you are endorsing, you are supporting his agenda. You have someone from Hamas on your show extolling the virtues of Hamas, you are an active supporter of Hamas. You are an active supporter of Islamist terrorism. So Tucker's gone. There's no separation between Tucker Carlson and Nazi apologist. None. Here's the pertinent, important point. Again, my headline, my lead is, well, then JD Vance must support Holocaust deniers. JD Vance must support, I guess, Nazi apologists. And the only way you can prove me wrong, he can prove me wrong, is by condemning it. And he hasn't. The only way JD Vance can disprove what I just said. The vice presidential nominee on the Republican side must support, I guess, Nazi apologists and Holocaust deniers. Must be the case because he won't condemn Tucker Carlson and he will appear by Tucker Carlson's side. The only way that JD Vance can disprove that is to condemn and to not sit down with Tucker Carlson. What's troubling is JD Vance won't, because JD Vance knows, as I know, someone who comes from the MAGA base, as I do, we know that that's part of the base. It's part of the MAGA right. The same MAGA right, and I say this as someone who, I again, as my rule, right, I'll go after Trump and I'll go after Tucker Carlson, all the good, decent MAGA folk out there. Well, we've just got to face the facts, gang, that there are a lot of MAGA folk out there who are embracing authoritarianism, who embrace Putin, who embrace dictators like Trump does, who think Ukraine bad, Putin good. And there's a subsection of those folk who are anti-Semitic. Anti-Semitism's on the far right and it's on the far left. And there are Holocaust deniers on the far right. There are Nazi apologists on the far right. The majority of MAGA? Hell no. But enough of the MAGA right that JD Vance is afraid. He's afraid to condemn Tucker Carlson. There's enough Nazi apologists and anti-Semites and Holocaust deniers on the right that JD Vance is afraid to call out Holocaust deniers. He's afraid. That's all we are left with concluding. I know JD Vance hasn't condemned Tucker Carlson because JD Vance does not want to alienate an element of his far right base. I know that's why JD Vance is going to sit down and man hug Tucker Carlson. So what's troubling for us as a nation, as a country, is that element is there. And it's part of the MAGA right. And I'm just so damn sick and tired of beating around that bush. And all my good MAGA right, what's troubling is that you're lying and you know you are. Ruben says I'm lying. Well, Ruben, you've got I'm sure a cell phone. You've got a laptop, Ruben. I'm doing my best not to lie here. Tucker Carlson had this guy on his show. This guy has said what he said. I don't think you'd dispute that. JD Vance interviewed with Tucker Carlson after he had the Holocaust. There it is. Thank you, Keith. JD Vance stands by Tucker Carlson. amid the Hitler and Holocaust whitewashing. So this all happened after Tucker had him on, and JD Vance, Rubin, has not condemned Tucker Carlson. So you need to help me, buddy boy, by finding a lie in that, because it's all just right out there for you to see. And I, again, implore all my Trump supporters, all my MAGA folk, to condemn this. Prove to me, prove to the nation that you think Holocaust denialism is bad. It's really easy. Condemn it. It's so easy. Condemn it. The Holocaust was a horrible thing. To deny the Holocaust is a horrible thing. All you have to do, my MAGA brothers and sisters, is just say that. Condemn it. Nazis were evil. Nazism was certainly evil. Hitler was evil. That ain't a difficult thing to say. Oh, gosh, that's a really easy thing to say. Say it. If you believe it, say it. My MAGA brothers and sisters, say it. It was wrong for Tucker Carlson. Free country, Tucker can do what he wants with his show, but say it, MAGA brothers and sisters, my friends, it was wrong for him to give a platform to a Holocaust denier. If you believe that, my MAGA brothers and sisters, amen, say it. Just say it. You'll be liberated. I'm profoundly sad today as well. Sad doesn't do justice to what I feel about this other issue. The father of the 14-year-old kid who took a gun into his Georgia high school the other day and shot and killed 4 people, 2 students and 2 teachers, injured 8 others. The father of that 14-year-old has been arrested. Thank you, Keith. Teen and father charged. The father was charged with involuntary manslaughter and second-degree murder and cruelty to children. He was charged with second-degree murder. I always need to say at the outset, as I get into any stories on or discussions about guns, I need to say the following, because so many of my MAGA brothers and sisters and folk on the right forget who I am when it comes to the issues. There is no bigger gun rights person in this country than me. I'm in the starting 5. I will defend the Second Amendment. I will defend my gun rights until I drop. I will defend the Second Amendment and my gun rights. I will defend my rights to carry a gun, to defend myself and defend my property and defend my family. I will defend that right until I die. I will defend the Second Amendment as passionately as I will defend the First Amendment. I have a public record that says that as well. So I'm not a lefty. I'm not I'm going to take your guns guy. I'm not a gun control guy. I'm not you know where I'm coming from on this issue. And whenever I talk about guns, I feel like I need to remind people of that. Having said that, I agree that this Georgia father should have been charged. I'm leery and troubled by this precedent of charging the parents of underage kids who shoot and kill people. And I'll get to it in a minute. I'm worried and troubled by the precedent, but in clear-cut cases, oh my gosh, it makes sense. And let me just remind everybody, this was a 14-year-old boy who went into that Georgia high school 2 years ago. This 14-year-old boy who lives with his father, a year ago when he was 13, made online threats to commit a mass shooting at a school. The boy and the father were called in front of the authorities, the FBI, local police. They were questioned and interviewed. And at that time, the authorities told the father, look, this is what your 13-year-old son said online. He's threatening to go into a school and shoot up people. That happened a year ago. This is what's important. After that happened, 4 to 5 months after that happened, and by the way, there wasn't enough, the authorities said, to arrest at that time, when those threats were made a year ago, to arrest the 13-year-old boy or the father. So they were let go by the authorities. Here's the thing. 5 months after the 13-year-old, after that happened, the 13-year-old and the father were questioned. 5 months after that, after the father learned that his 13-year-old son made online threats to commit a school shooting, 5 months after that, the father bought his 13-year-old, now 14-year-old son a Christmas present. He bought his 14-year-old son an AR-15. Forget about what kind of firearm. He bought his son a gun for Christmas. Again, I'll defend your right and my right to carry a gun anywhere in the country to defend yourself and your property and your family. Come on, my gun rights folks. This is craziness. That's like bad. That's wrong. You buy your 14-year-old son a gun for a Christmas present after he's clearly got issues. And there were other incidents where this kid was clearly begging for help. The aunt said he was begging for help. He needed therapy. The boy's grandfather said he was not getting any support. He needed therapy. He's making online threats, and you, the father, buy him a gun for a Christmas present? The father said he had guns for hunting. The father said that the guns always supervised with the son. We'll get the details and all of that. But the authorities came out yesterday and charged the father, and said that the father knowingly allowed the boy to possess the weapon, and that the father's charges are directly related to the actions of his son. And there is reporting that the son had unsupervised access to these firearms, to his Christmas present. Look, it's clear that warning signs across the board were ignored. It's clear that authorities and local law enforcement and school officials, a lot of people missed all these red flags. Seems like a lot of people could be held responsible for what this 14-year-old kid did 2 days ago. But like that case in Michigan, that was finally went to trial in Michigan earlier this year, where a 16-year-old boy went into school and shot and killed people. And the parents were put on trial. They were charged. Those parents were charged with involuntary manslaughter because they bought their 15-year-old a gun. They did not lock up the 15-year-old's gun, and they ignored the warning signs their 15-year-old son was exhibiting. Those Michigan parents 5 months ago are in jail right now, charged with involuntary manslaughter. The evidence in this case seems to be every bit as bad and troubling. I worry about us going down this road of charging parents for the actions of their kids, especially when their kids are adults. I worry that minority parents may feel the brunt of this, that low-income parents may feel the brunt of this. There are real concerns here. I worry that young Black men out there committing crimes with guns, there's a preponderance of that all of a sudden we're going to start hauling their parents into court and try to adjudicate how they are raising their kids. You can see where this opens up a whole can of troubling issues. And by the way, charging parents for firearm crimes that their kids commit is rare. It's becoming more common when we talk about underage children. He'll have his day in court. As someone who believes in gun rights, when people commit crimes with guns, man, I want them put away, because they give all of us who believe in gun rights a bad name. A dad like this, a father like this, a father as irresponsible as this, you find out your 14-year-old kid is a threat to commit a mass shooting at a school. You find that out and you don't do a damn thing for him. You don't get help for him. And then, by God, Christmas comes along and you buy him an AR-15 for Christmas. Man, 54-year-old father, I'll defend your right to carry a gun and defend yourself, but that's wrong. You need to be held accountable for that. He never should have had that gun. He never should have had access to that gun. He's 14 years old and he's got issues. And you ignored those issues and you gave him access to a gun. You should be charged. And he's been charged. But if there's not anybody listening to me right now who's not troubled by this entire issue, especially this issue of parents, and again, I'm the libertarian I am. I don't want government, right, kind of dictating how parents raise their kids, but there have to be some lines, and it seems like this line was crossed. Would love to know what you all think, how you all think about this issue. I hope that if the child is a minor and they commit a crime, they are usually right to charge the family, says I noticed on TikTok. Thank you, man. I agree. I think we need, because again, I'm a gun rights guy. I have guns. I have guns in my home. I carry guns when I go outside to protect myself. I get pissed off at people like this, at cases like this, where just egregious behavior is committed. Crimes with guns are committed. And then what happens is all the folks on the left who want to take away my right to carry a gun, man, this just gives them material. This just gives them fodder. Oh my God, we got to ban the AR-15, they'll say, which I disagree with vehemently. Oh my God, we got to make sure, the government's got to make sure that every gun in a home is locked up. The government needs to go into every home and make sure all guns are locked up. Man, cases like this, give them fodder to do that. I'm troubled by this, but I support this arrest because this looks like an egregious case. What's interesting is the local authorities haven't given out any more details about the father, the gun, and the son. And this happened really quickly, like as in within 48 to 72 hours, they arrested the father. And we're talking about Georgia. We're talking about a red part of Georgia where folks really are all about gun rights. So the fact that this happened down there this quickly tells me that local authorities know more about what this father did. Simple says, Music Geeks, if he didn't have access to the gun, it wouldn't have happened. It's not that simple, but it is simple. In this case, my friend, it seems like the only reason this 14-year-old kid had access to this gun is because his father made it happen. Made it happen. You've got to send a sign to society that's a line that can't be crossed. Final thought on everything this Friday is this is one of those issues, guns, gun violence, gun safety, all the rest, where something happens like what happened in Georgia a couple days ago. And right away, man, we all go to our corners. Take away all the guns. Don't you damn it. Don't you touch my gun. It's all about the gun. It's only about the gun. It's got nothing to do with the gun. Be honest with me. Most of us do that. We go to our corners when shit like this happens and we fire at each other. We don't listen to each other. We just fire, no pun intended, at each other. You're wrong. You suck. Guns need to be gone. Don't touch my guns. This is only about guns. This has nothing to do with guns. We fire. On Twitter, we fire. On Facebook, we fire. When we go on TV, we just fire. We don't listen. We get in our shots. We go to our corners. We get in our partisan takes. And there's no conversation. Part of what the social contract is, a big part. And again, remember, the social contract is our responsibility as citizens in this great experiment in freedom. Part of our responsibility as citizens is to engage in respectful conversation across the aisle, across the divide. Part of our responsibility when a shooting like this happens is to have a conversation about this issue, to listen, to gain understanding, to try to find common ground. I'm not saying you're going to find common ground. I'm not saying I'm going to find common ground, but you try. And I'm not asking you to give up your position. I'm not going to give up my position or my take. I believe in what I believe when it comes to the Second Amendment and gun rights. But to take that take, to passionately take that take, and to have respectful dialogue with the other side, to not hate on the other side, to not refuse to listen to the other side. Until we can learn to begin to do this again, we won't move the ball forward on any issue. None. That's enough. I was going to go off on John Bolton a little bit. John Bolton came out last night and said Trump is not a threat to democracy. I'll wait, because that will just extend my bad mood. I wish you all, hey, next week is debate week. I think I'm going to be in Arizona for a little bit next week. I'm trying to go into a battleground every state, and I'm talking to Republicans, trying to help Republicans have the courage to vote for Kamala Harris, to put their country first. Because again, I believe Donald Trump is an unfit existential threat to our democracy. But I wish you all a great Friday. End your week on a good note, a strong note, a positive note, and then relax and chill a little bit this weekend. Hey, anybody ever want to reach out to me, you can. I believe my email is still, it's the old email. We'll fix it. joewalshwhiteflag@gmail.com. Joe Walsh White Flag. That's all one word at gmail.com. Shoot me an email. Give me criticism, constructive criticism about what you think of this show. I'll have an interview again this Monday with a really fascinating woman, college professor, who has figured out a big way for us to help heal the divide in this country. You won't want to miss that. That will be this Monday. But I'd love your thoughts, good, bad, and ugly, on what you think of this show, Social Contract with Joe Walsh. So fire me off an email, Joe Walsh White Flag, all one word, at gmail.com. Have a great weekend, everybody. Follow me on every platform. Be brave.
Remember to listen, share, and follow The Social Contract with Joe Walsh on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere great podcasts are found. And be sure to leave a 5-star review. This has been The Social Contract with Joe Walsh.